In this example, we are going to need to create an inequality that represents an interval of numbers that are no more than or maybe no less than a certain value. So for instance, find the interval on the real number line that contains all numbers that lie no more than 2 units from 3. So the numbers, let me write this in gray. The numbers that lie no more than 2, so it could be 2 or less than 2, from 3. So the numbers from 3 on a number line, here's 3. The numbers from 3 that are no more than 2 units. So I go 2 units to the left, and I go 2 units to the right. So my answer is going to be between 1 and 5. So I can reason this out because they're pretty easy numbers, a matter of fact, no more than the number of fingers that I have on one hand. However, how do we represent this as an absolute value and an inequality? Because that's the part you're going to have to do on a test. The answer is not going to be 1 and 5. The answer is going to be represent this as an absolute value or as an inequality and or both. Therefore, we have to say distance is always positive. So now I've got the absolute value. So the numbers from 3, I don't know what those numbers are. So x, and then the distance would be subtraction. So x minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. And that's how you write that. So I like to think of it this way. From is your minus sign, and then whatever number follows that from 3 comes right after your minus sign. And then the part that determines the inequality, no more than, so that would be less than or equal to 2. So no more than 2. Now how do we solve this? Let's just solve this to check to make sure we know how to algebraically get 1 and 5. Well, the absolute value of x minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. You did this in college algebra. You rewrite. Less than is an and. So we're going to rewrite this. X minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. And x minus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now you probably wondered, why do you do that? Why do you flip it and then make it a negative? Well, the absolute value of x minus 3 is the same thing as x minus 3 when x is greater than or equal to 3. And the absolute value of x minus 3 is also the opposite of x minus 3 when x is less than positive 3. X is less than positive 3. So let's look at this right here. Let me use a purple. Let's use this blue. So the opposite of x minus 3. If I take the opposite of x minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. Okay, so there's your less than, let's move it up here, it doesn't like, undo. Okay, there we go. So there's your less than or equal to 2. You take the opposite of everything that's inside the absolute value. So the opposite of all of x minus 3, that's negative x plus 3. Or, watch this, I can divide both sides by a negative. This is some fancy schmancy stuff right here. Divide both sides by a negative or -1, and you get x minus 3 because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. But because we divided both sides by a negative, we flip the symbol. And then 2 divided by a negative is -2. And that's why that works. Okay, I hope that was fun for you. X is less than or equal to 5, and x is greater than or equal to 1. So let's do this on a number line. 1 is to the left, 5 is to the right. We've got x is less than or equal to 5, and then x is greater than or equal to 1. And because it's and, we're going to do the overlapping. So any numbers between -1 and 5. So -1 to 5 with brackets. So those are all the numbers they share. And all of those numbers would be no more than 2 units away from 3. Okay, let's see if you can try. Again, you heard me say that this is a test item and how it's going to be written on the test, so make sure that you're not coming up with the final answer alone, that you're able to write this out as an absolute value inequality. Press pause, give it a whirl, and when you're ready to come back and check your answer, press play. Okay, welcome back. You should have gotten the absolute value of x minus 6 is less than or equal to 4. And when you solve that, because it's an and, you can say x minus 6 is less than or equal to 4, and x minus 6 is greater than or equal to -4. Well, they both share an x minus 6. So x minus 6 has to be less than or equal to 4, less than or equal to 4, but at the same time, it's got to be greater than or equal to -4. So greater than, I know that's not the greater than sign, but when I'm reading this, x minus 6 is greater than, because the inequality is going, I think of it like an alligator. The alligator is eating the x minus 6, so that means the x minus 6 is larger. The x minus 6 is definitely larger. Is greater than or equal to -4. And then we add 6 to all 3 parts, and we get 2 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 10. So x is between 2 and 10 inclusive, meaning 2 and 10 are included.